Boom shakalaka boom shakalaka boom. We begin. Hello and good morning, my friends. Hello and good morning. It is morning. It is not the usual time of the podcast. It seems like we've settled into a bit of a rhythm on the podcast that we are currently breaking today. We're out early. It's like 9:25 in the morning. That is unacceptably early, and we're doing it anyway. I remember I did a dawn run once or twice in my entire life, and those were really rewarding. Maybe we'll get up to that point, but for now, I'm 2 cups of coffee deep and some podcasts deep in a sweet, sweet morning, and now I get to share it with you. So, let's do it. By running together. Headset stay on. Yeah. So before we continue, I have to say, we may as well just introduce the podcast. It is Ride Along with Run Man. Welcome. This is my podcast where I run and talk at the same time. I just got a webcam and, well, perhaps I'll be able to use it at some point. Or rather a camera that's meant to be used like on the fly. So it's very small, very light. I can like pin it to my hat or something. I can figure something out. So I'm excited about that. It's super cool. We'll see. We'll see how things work. I'll have to play around with it a little bit. But anyway, yeah, we've made it to episode 39. That's us right now. I think that's what it is anyway. I think I uploaded 38 yesterday after running the day before. Usually I'll upload things the same day, but in this case, not so much. Oh, man. Yeah, so without undue introductions, here we are. Let's go this way, because why not?
Traveling east.
All right, we're going to sit in silence here for a second. Sun's already kind of warm. It's going to be a good one today. All right. Okay. And we're going. Whew. Occasionally, things like that happen. Like what just happened. Where I found myself in close proximity to a number of people at the same time all of a sudden for no reason. I'm really sensitive to that. I've always been really sensitive of happening upon people or any kind of close contact. I get a little shy. Unless the stage is set, you know? Like I took a speech class. I went into that thing locked and loaded every time. Ready for fun. Totally ready for fun. It was a good time. Okay. And we keep going. 5 minutes in, we're already breathing heavily. All right. And we keep going. And we keep running. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 7 human beings. Close contact. At the same time, right out the gate of the day. That's enough people for today. I think I'm done. I love us, but I think I'm done. That's the introvert song. It's funny. Remember 1,000 years ago when I almost said something and then I said like 20 things? Well, what I was gonna say, that's 8. 8. Oh, God. Really? I think I picked the wrong side of the street. That's okay. Oh, it's going to be a warm one. I had an unusual experience yesterday. that I wanted to share. I have one tattoo currently, and I have no plans on getting any more of them. And I got a zit in there, a fairly sizable one for me. I tend to get little ones. This one was a little on the bigger side, and I only found it by accident because I was doing what was I doing? I was like suntan lotioning. What's the word for it? I was grooming. And, okay. All right. There we go. Hey, thank you. Walk sign. And ow, did it hurt? It was really responsive to pressure sense. And it still is, even though I popped it. I popped it and it was pretty rough and it didn't feel complete. Still doesn't feel complete. And I'm wondering if that's just... Yeah, it is. I think. Huh. I was checking. I have some scars on my shoulder where that tattoo is. The zit did not pop up on one of those scars. I've had that happen before. Once or twice. Not often. No, this time it's just tattoo. But I guess the tattoo ink, ow, just didn't want to cooperate with that natural phenomenon. One more reason to keep tattoos clean, boys and girls. Or not get them in the first place. You gotta pay to play, right? Whew. All right. You get me. You get me. Anyway, it still hurts. Today I pushed a pin into it. Just enough. Just enough to get in there. Because I felt the pressure sense and I was like, wow, maybe there's just too much like compressed tissue. And all it really needs is a tiny little length. So I took a pin and I pushed and I felt a pop. But it was just my skin popping. It wasn't... Only blood came out. And right now, I've got a little plasma clot right there. I don't think that's... I think whatever I'm feeling now is just residual pressure that will resolve itself in time. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Oh my God. This was the wrong time to do this run. This was the wrong time. Oh, suck it up, Buttercup. It's gonna be okay. It's a short run. Just a little baby run, just a little hello. A little smooch. Yeah. I really wanted to have one day, just one day of like no people. I'm gonna give myself that day. Not now. But it's gonna occur to me at a point in time when that's feasible. In fact, that's really feasible coming up. Just not today. Just not today. What we can do is mind our sensitivities to social abrasion. You know. Just breathing out on the prairie. Just breathing. I've got change in my pocket. That's unusual. I don't have any small bills though. So I dipped into the change bin, my little coffee bin. I pulled out a few quarters because I'm going to the dollar store on the way back, which will further customize this podcast as a relatively singular one. I believe that I've had episodes before where I ended up near a post office or some other task or errand I didn't want to bring the public into. just because that's so boring. I remember as a kid going clothing shopping, even the parts that were about me, trying on shoes and clothes and stuff. The worst. Interminable. If you want to go to sleep, anybody having a hard time sleeping, just call your parents up and be like, hey, let's go, or your grandparents, the times I'm thinking of, we're both, just be like, hey, why don't we go shop for shoes for 5 hours and clothes and stuff and try to get some deals. It's doable. And then make sure to bring your sleep apnea mask, because you are gonna be snoring. That might have been the best sleep I ever got. Hiding from the folks on those shopping trips, scaring the daylights out of them. A different world. Anyway, yeah, shoes and shirts and all that stuff. Hey, here's a victory. Here's a way to start the day. Usually, my right arm is really reluctant to join the party when it's time to run and hold the phone on wing cam. Usually the left arm's a little bit better for the balancing, which surprised me. Didn't expect it to be that way. I expected the reverse, because I'm right-handed. But I prefer to drink Pepsi in my left hand as well. I had a Pepsi recently. It blew my freaking mind apart. Whew. It was delicious and sickening at the same time. Come to think of it, yeah, it's loud. Whew. Come to think of it, it sat with my system better. Hi guys. It sat with my system way better than the mocha that I had more recently than that. That mocha blew my, well, let's just leave it at that. It blew me. Not in a good way. Whew. I mean gas, that's what I mean. I mean, like, I was doing deliveries and stuff and I had to, like, you know the yoga pose, Chakrasana? Or like the adapted, or I don't know about adapted, but the easier version, the less, let's just call it different. The different version, which is a bridge pose. You ever do bridge pose where you make your body into like a table? I kind of did that while I was in the car making deliveries in order to align my body in such a way that it could eject the gas that was just roiling. Yeah. I guess that brings us to this morning's Wim Hof practice. I hit something like 335, 340. It was one of those where I forgot to hit the stop button when I took the recovery breath. So I came down from the recovery breath, or I was mostly down from the recovery breath. And I was like, oh shit, we're at 355. So we're probably really at 325, 330, 335. I never time my recovery breaths. I should. It's very specific. 15 seconds. Sometimes I've held for longer, completely forgetting to breathe again. Sometimes I've forgotten the recovery breath entirely. That's not what I was going to talk about, though. God, where is my mind? In the gutter, as usual. was talking about ejecting my gas from my body in an ergonomically unorthodox but satisfying position while making food deliveries yesterday. And then I abridged that and hinted that, today, this morning, there was something that reminded me of. And what that was I thought to combine, because on the recovery breaths you can partake of the option to compress your airways or compress your lungs a little bit, compress your torso. And I thought, well, let's compress the column instead today. I think I tried this yesterday too. Ever since the jumping episode, I've been looking at the end of my GI tract much differently. I've been looking at my perineal floor differently. My lower gut, all that. Like, that's big time shaker and mover stuff. All kinds of stuff's going on in there. Microbiome stuff. It's a world within my world. And I thought to myself, well, I always compress my chest. I bring my chest in and collapse it much as I can. It's hard to it's hard to do anything system-wide, right? It's like, oh yeah. It's like saying, it's like trying to do the Star Trek peace sign with all of your fingers separately. It's like, oh yeah, try to push your pointer finger away from the rest of them. Try to push your pinky away from the rest of them. Try to push... Well, you get the point. Bringing anything under conscious control. You can probably do a lot of these things without thinking about it. Hey, walk spot. Good, because I tired myself out talking so much. Am I good? So good to breathe. Anyway, this time on the recovery breaths, I incorporated the perineal squeeze. And I even compressed my lips. I was like, and my throat a little bit, which I don't do so much. I usually make an effort, if any, if I do give an effort, to loosen my throat typically, because I always keep my throat more contracted than it needs to be. And it shows. It comes out in the way that I sing. It comes out in the way that I speak. It helps me control and modulate things at mid-res. But it's hard to bring things into consciousness like I was talking about when trying to reach for details with singing different ways. I can think of some examples of places where I get stuck in singing. It's like The Hollow. It's like when you're singing The Hollow, it's a good song, but I typically sing it the way that it's sung in the Bunk remix. It's a good song. And I'll sing it the original way too. I did that yesterday. Or at least close to it. I always take liberties. I always do. Because my voice is different, than Maynard or any of those guys. But the Bunk remix was done by somebody who was vocally skilled in a different tradition. And he was a little, I don't know, just a little bit more like how I do it. But the original version of the song, I'm trying to think of the exact part where I have a hard time. The chorus, definitely. I can sing it, low in the easy part of my range. Feed me, fill me up again, Temporera. See, even when I go down and sing it in the more relaxed way, rather than taking it what I don't know terms. What is that? Take it an octave up, as it was intended, or as it was originally sung. Fade. It's tough. And my voice just constricts. And I remember early experiences playing wind instruments. I never got past the recorder, so I'm just going to say the recorder. and playing the recorder, I always remembered that you'd relax and not blow so hard when you were blowing lower notes, and when you were blowing higher notes, you needed to give it more juice. And I've always done that with my own voice, and I wonder if maybe that's a part of things. Bringing the lungs, bringing the throat, bringing the mouth into things. Like all together to do what you want to do. There's a YouTube channel called The Charismatic Voice, and this lady who's awesome. Her name is Elizabeth, I want to say. She brings childlike delight and wonder to every episode, which is, to me, a necessary adult equivalent to something like, say, Care Bears or Blues Clues. We're talking about a person who doesn't have a lot of BS to say about these wonderful artists that she's reviewing. She only has, she'll have critiques, but not abrasive, cynicism, or criticism and that kind of thing. I've seen other YouTube shows that do that. To music and to other things. People just shitting all over everything. In fact, that's probably the norm, so we need people like Elizabeth. But anyway, she actually does a lot of coaching, I guess, and she advertises for it. I assume she has online courses that are canned, and maybe there's the occasional supplemental live class or something with a group or something. I don't really know how it works. But it's funny, I thought about looking into it because at some point in time I'm going to have the resources to do things like buy the Wim Hof app. To do things like, I have the idea to eat out at least twice a week. That sounds so good. It's so luxurious. I didn't do that when I had the money. But anyway, I thought about jumping in there, but I thought, well, what would I do? I don't want to sound more like Maynard. He's got his thing going. I got my thing. I'd like a lot of this music and these different kinds of music, but what would I want to do with a singing class? You could learn so many things, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice just to go in and say, hey, my goal is to expand my options. Discover and broaden my range, perhaps. Maybe pull things out of my throat a little bit more. Because I find myself to be very mouth and throat forward. And I never give myself the fullness of the breathing that would probably ease singing. Another thing is I'm really self-conscious, so when I sing in the car, when I'm alone, whatever, right now, if I sang The Hollow, the guy that we passed 5 minutes ago could probably hear it, because I think I would need to fight the air out of my body that hard to hit the pitch that Maynard does it in the original version for things like the main course without it sounding reedy and weird. We'll learn how to sing. I'd like that. Maynard's always talking about learn to swim. Get your shit together. The thing about that is that a lot of people in my world and our world are specialists. They're really, really good at a narrow series of things that make them cash. And then they have a hobby or two. I was thinking about that yesterday, in fact. We're just going to wander all over the place, like the vagal nerve from 10 episodes ago. We're going to wander between topics because they are all kind of connected, and I don't care if we don't land any points. That's not the the issue or the aim of today. You know what I'm going to do, actually? I was going to turn back, but now I'm not going to. Now I'm going to take a right and hope. I don't have to take a right, do we? I am going to take a right. I'm going to take a right, and I'm going to hope that my BMs won't slide into my DMs, if you know what I mean. This morning. Oh. Was that a guttural yes or a guttural no? Learning to listen. Oh my God, that's another topic. Oi. Well, let's hit that really quick, because I forgot the first thing I was going to say. This is just too much fun. Oh my God. Maybe I don't want to, because I went right last time. I don't necessarily want to go that way this time. We have really lost the thread. It's fine. Listening is the topic, and I was thinking of this morning when I was clenching my perineum, doing the recovery breaths and stuff. Actually, the first cycle was the smoothest. That's weird. Usually it's not. Usually the first cycle is the least smooth, but this time I went for an extra round, and yeah, we broke some serious. We really have been improving the times we can hang in there without very much air in the lungs. We've really improved that. Wow, what happened? Okay. All right. Is there somebody in there? Are they okay? Is that... Okay, we might have to... I don't see anybody. Oh, they could be collapsed in there, though. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. Let's just see really quick. Okay. I think we're okay. We're okay. No one's in there. Also, there's a little car scent device dangling, and the car scent device dangling beneath the mirror in that car, that wrecked car, said the word trap. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk away. Tree work ahead. Yeah, and those signs are saying, you know what? Maybe this road's not my way today. Sorry, guys, we were going to take a right, but we're not going to do that now. We're going to go a slightly different way, which is fine because we're on the walk spot and I get to walk a little bit more. Welcome to Walkcast, where occasionally I walk both ways on the walk spot and bring you along for the ride. We're still riding along, though, because we're still dealing with the issues of the day. The issue of the day having been the topic that I almost said a few times after I forgot another topic. And that topic was listening, and the listening happened best the first cycle today, this morning, while doing the Wim Hof technique. I woke up really butt-ass early for myself. I'm not usually that guy. I'm not usually not that guy either. I'm kind of variable. I've kind of been up all the time, depending on like any time of day. There's a time of my life when I was up at that point regularly, essentially. And today I was up at 7. I was like, I'm not going back to sleep. Fuck it. So I Wim Hof'd, and 7:35 rolled around. I was like, damn, okay, let's start the day. Motivated. But anyway, on cycle number 1, I dove, right? Took the 30 breaths. They were big breaths. They felt good. I gave them some time. And I felt something. And actually I hung in there for the other cycles with this feeling as well, because that was just what it was. Listening is a form of feeling, and feeling is a form of, well, I was going to say speaking. It's a conversation, like we've been talking about. We're having these conversations. Yeah, let's walk backwards for a second. Be a little bit more productive at least. That fucking car wreck. That was nuts, dude. 3 days ago, I saw a car flip over and spin 5 times while moving hella quick, and it was a mini van, that is. It struck 2 other vehicles and tipped over and flipped, and the top was flat, so once it got onto the roof, it stayed on the roof, and it just spun like a giant, whatever, 3,000 pound like shuriken. almost into the sidewalk. Thankfully, the guy climbed out of it right after that happened. Anyway, I wanted to note the actual feeling that I had. You know, this is important because I don't have back issues. Thank crikey. I know a guy who lifted his body while he was holding an engine block, and he happened to twist his spine at the same time. He might have been surprised by something. I don't remember the whole story, but I remember that he was just out of adolescence. He was in like early 20s, like mad power. He might have been younger. He was like in the alpha version of himself in this life. You know, we hit whatever it is, early 20s or 20, and I don't know, like 18 to 25. That's like your bread and butter of peak effortless physical self. You know, and if you want to maintain that, you start having to work, and then you have to, like, you know, have a conversation. Anyway, he has never recovered, and it sucked. It sucked. It really is a part of who he is now. It's a part of his life. It's part of the story, right? You break your back. It's tough to come back, and I have not broken my back. I've not broken my back. Oh, and I've never really hurt my back. A couple of times I've lifted some shit weird, and I do have a bit of tension in the lower left region. Speaking of which, I learned today that my body is not parallel situated to the front. My body curls down into the left. It's like my navel doesn't point straight. I knew my knees didn't point straight, but fudge. Now I know that I'm all just a bunch of weird, odd angles. Nothing wrong with that. It's just part of being a person. But what is being a person? Something like this. Holding a camera and talking like a chatty monkey. Anywho, the specific sensation that I felt was a back sensation during the Wim Hof breathing technique this morning. It was a feeling of ice. It was like icy cold. Icy cold and stiffness. And I wonder if that was a myofascial reaction that I was watching. Because it was really, really subtle, and my body fought like hell to tell me that message, and my conscious self fought like hell not to feel that, and instead to go off into imagination land, and to think anything else, and to feel anything else than what was happening right then. But I hung in there, at least for a few seconds. That was a victory. That's a good thing. That was truly a treasure. Remarkable. May never happen again. And I made an effort, and I became, you know, not proficient, but I'm proud to say that